You were drafted out of high school.
Yep.
Take us back to when you were going through that draft process. Obviously, we talked about you going to the area code games. Did you see pro ball as a realistic and viable option? Or was it like, that's a pipe dream. I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm really getting geared up for college?
This was truly the pinnacle of everything. Like, exposure to showcases is so much more broad now. It was mainly college that I started to get some pro mail and stuff. Nothing too extreme. It was enough to get some people to come watch me play in high school the next spring. And then I had one doubleheader where I went off, and it went from 3 guys there to 30.
Was that in the summer, or was
It was in
that
the spring, high school, my senior year? There was a couple guys that came around from time to time, but one doubleheader, and all of a sudden they were there every game after that.
But the layer of protection that you have when you have somebody looking out for you, it is truly helpful. Because as a player, what tends to happen is a player goes through the draft and it's such an emotional time.
We're emotionally driven for the opportunity. So we're playing checkers, they're playing chess.
So I have the privilege of talking to a legend in the game, a man who I was fortunate enough to represent, a man who I've gotten to know over the last. So we got you out of the Arizona Fall League when you were in AA in 2011. Exactly.
Yep.
So Derek, you, just to give everybody an idea if they don't know, obviously Major League catcher, Major League All-Star. And currently you are somebody who is in what I would call kind of that youth travel baseball space as, and I'm not even going to put you in a box, but to give these people an idea of like your perspective, you're somebody who has taken your skill sets as a player and really tried to figure out how do I pour into kind of the next generation? And you work with hitters. Are you working with any catchers? Are you working on just
I do.
From a defensive standpoint?
Unfortunately, with a lot of the different things they do receiving wise now with the knee and the glove drop, I don't care for it. I don't think it's really efficient. And so it's tough for me to teach that. But given the right circumstance of the individual, it's something that I know a lot about.
Yeah.
And I will teach it, but only if approached with like them coming to me, that I'm not going to seek out
Sure.
like a catching camp or anything like that, that it's so much different than when I was taught very traditional, and efficiency was number one, that with electronic strike zones and everything that we're dealing
That's
with.
right. Yeah, with the ABS system coming, like we're in a world where like the catching position, if just you look at the last 10 years, it's vastly changed.
And I don't think it's more efficient, because anytime there's a ball outside of our right shoulder that we don't block anymore, it just goes to the backstop.
Yeah.
That was not acceptable for me, that anything past you was a pass ball, whether it was a wild pitch or not.
Well, and I do think with the data that's available now, a lot of times people think, oh, the way that it's being done now is the right way. But you could make the argument that, I mean, even with the swing on some level, like it's an evolution. We'll eventually learn at some point over a period of years if the knee drop and some of these other things actually does get the result that they're all hoping it gets.
And I think all of us have dropped to a knee at some point for some type of rest or, fatigue, stamina. But overall, you can't convince me that we drop our glove all the way to the ground in a game where we're pitching at elevation more than ever.
Yeah.
That why are we dropping the extra foot whenever we're asking for a high fastball? That pitchers, they're throwing max effort, not efficiency. That the last time I saw a paint down and away fastball target was probably 3 years ago. That
Yeah.
It's either middle, high, or it's a breaking ball or off speed somehow. And it's the evolution of where pitchers are at, that we're throwing harder. The technology of moving the arm faster, it's more than ever that they don't care if they miss their location, because they believe that they can just blow it past you, where you're starting to see the repertoire of pitchers kind of change, that they're going to more sinkers and different things. So I think it's no different than any sport, that it has its modern evolution tweaks, but somehow, some way, I think everything kind of reverts back to what we consider traditional standards of the sport. But it's difficult for me to try and tell a kid, hey, this is really crappy because you're 14, they're 30. They have 12 more years of experience and feel and whatever you want to call that they can do these things that you can't get to yet. It's a stepping stone. because no different than some of the teacher man stuff that's destroyed all swing path of everything to try and get the ball in the air. If we're unable to hit the ball over the fence, we're just hitting a fly ball to the outfield type of stuff. So it's like you see the pinnacle of people on TV do these things. We want to be them. Everyone's imitated Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, and Sammy Sosa at some point, us growing up. They're simply just following what they see. But what they don't understand is those guys simply had to start from somewhere too, and that you're starting where they're starting at 30.
Yeah, right.
You're at 12.
Yeah, it's tough when and it's cyclical. Like these aren't what you did as a kid looking at the guys in the big leagues is no different than what they're doing now as kids looking at guys in the big leagues.
Simply just the addition of technology and social media. They're able to get to it quicker, faster, and more often. And right now in society, people can come up with a swing thought and portray it, and all of a sudden they make a weird gadget and they make millions of dollars off of it. And it's not their fault. They're simply just trying to do what they think will help. But there's no such thing as a evolutionary quick fix to all of a sudden being good at hitting and or catching. It's something that comes with repetition and process, years and years of dedication of work, that if there was, I would have been a lot better. And I think overall the game would be a lot more equal than it is.
So you were drafted out of high school.
Yep.
Going through, like, take us back to when you were going through that draft process. Did you, leading into the draft and call it like a year before, the summer before, we're at the area code games, obviously. We talked about you going to the area code games. Did you see pro ball as a realistic and viable option? Or was it like, that's a pipe dream, like I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm really getting geared up for college?
Until 18 years ago when I was here, the exposure to showcases is so much more broad now that this was truly the pinnacle of everything. Like everything anyone knew about if you can make area codes was the thing to go to. Up until that point, it was mainly college that I started to get some pro, mail and stuff, and nothing of too extreme to where it was enough to get some people to come watch me play high school the next spring. And then I had one doubleheader where I went off, and it went from 3 guys there to 30 the next game. It was one day, one doubleheader. I'm like 7 for 7 with like 3
Was
homers.
that in the summer or was
that?
That
in the spring, high school, my senior year.
Senior year, okay.
So there was a couple guys that kind of came around from time to time, but one doubleheader, and all of a sudden they were there every game after that, which we only get 20, so it wasn't too many days. But after that point, it kind of started to hit me that it was a little more in reach. And then as we progressively got closer, the whispers of, what's your slot value, whatever. And those are pretty detailed questions to ask somebody. It's not like, hey, if we draft you, would you sign? It's what is your number? This is where we project you at. And then just to get a feel for that at the time, it was kind of like, damn, that's a very specific question. They must be looking at me in this type of demographic. And for me, it was never about money value. It was more so looking at a guy in the eye and seeing his level of interest and who is he bringing around. Is it an area scout that's from Wichita, or is he bringing in a cross-checker or a scouting director? Which is what led me to sign with Washington. Is I got Bob Boone and Dana Brown, who's now the GM for the Astros, in my basement trying to convince me to sign. Like, I don't know as if they take those steps for everybody, and not that I was anything special, but they were that adamant trying to get me signed that they took the links of coming in the middle of nowhere to try and sign me. So that was more so for me what made me interested in the pro scene.
Well, and you got drafted obviously in mid 2000s, 2007, right? Yeah. Were you drafted having already agreed to a deal, or was that something where they drafted you and then Dana and Bob came in after they took you to negotiate?
My dad was actually kind of acting as my agent, so to speak, that he came up with a number of X amount that he thought was satisfactory. After that point, teams were calling through these first couple rounds. We reached a point where that number was no longer in the slot. So I actually went outside with my buddies like, okay, I guess we're going to Wichita State. My mom came out 5 minutes later and said, hey, Washington just drafted you in the 4th round. Didn't get a call, did nothing. Like 6 teams called me.
So did your dad tell them before they took you that you would sign for this number? Or was it?
Yeah, anybody that had spoken to my dad, they knew that this was the number.
It had to be this. Okay.
Yeah. And
shout out to Russell the Muscle for taking care of that.
And then the scout that went to all these links actually would come throw BP, and he's telling my dad, can we get him at this number, and just trying to sweat it out. So he called the big dogs in. So Bob Boone and Dana flew in to convince, I guess my dad needed convincing. And he's simply telling them, no, this is the number, like just no back and forth.
Sure.
In my parents' basement, So I went into my bedroom with my mom and dad, and Dad's like, you're not signing. I said, when did this become your decision and not ours collectively? He goes, it's not enough money for you. I said, again. And after that, I walked back out there, signed the paper, and it was done.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Russ was just trying to protect you.
No, he was just being a dad.
Yeah.
That he didn't do anything ill-mannered. He was simply just trying to look after his version of my best interests. And as soon as it became a decision that he made and no longer a conversation, simply just told me that was the route I wanted to take. Not out of spite, simply because I saw the interest. I got a 10-time Gold Glove winner in my basement telling me that they would make it worth my while. I don't think he does that a lot.
Yeah.
Number one, it's a little beneath him that he's probably got better stuff to do than to go to the middle of nowhere in farmland to convince a guy to come play.
Yeah, it's interesting. The draft process has changed so much.
It has.
I had, Mauricio Dubon, current big leaguer with the Houston Astros. Yeah. So he's a client of mine. And similarly, I got him in the minor leagues. I didn't have him out of the draft. And he told this story on the podcast where, he told teams, I'm trying to remember, I think he said his number was like $500,000, right? And so it's interesting. So he tells teams $500,000. And sure enough, team calls him and says, hey, we don't have 500,000, we have 300,000. And so mind you, they had asked him, what do you want to take? He says 500. All right, I'll call you back. Calls him back. We don't have 500, we have 300. He goes, okay, I'll take 300. Hangs up, calls him back. We don't have 300, we've got 150. And it got to a point where it was like, you got to be kidding me. And so sure enough, it keeps getting lower and lower. Guy calls him back and says, we don't have 150, we've got 50. And he goes, no shot. Like it's at least got to be 75. And he ended up signing for $75,000. And I tell that story because, and not to say that every parent or advisor is like going to make the biggest difference and they're going to ensure that your son's going to get drafted and paid accordingly. But the layer of protection that you have when you have somebody looking out for you, it is truly helpful. Because as a player, what tends to happen is a player goes through the draft and it's such an emotional time that to think in that moment, what's the decision? I mean, it's kind of like Monopoly money.
If you were to remove yourself from the situation in the moment, is impossible.
Right. Well, and it's Monopoly money. So, and this is what I tell families, leading up to the draft, we can talk about the number that you would take and the number that you wouldn't take. And let's just say for argument's sake, using 500, okay, your lowest number you would ever consider is 500. I go through this exercise with these families where I'm like, all right, I'm going to test you. Would you take 450? Team calls, 450's on the table. You said you'd take 5.
Right.
You wouldn't take 450? Well, maybe I would take 450. Okay. Would you take 425?
We're already looking at such an astronomical number. What's 50 grand? 50 grand's a lot of money.
So that's what starts to happen.
Yeah.
And so it's going through this exercise. And what I've realized is players ultimately talk themselves into a number lower because, again, they can't quite rationalize on the table. Now that I can say yes to this, and if I say yes, I get to sign, it's like, well, for 50 grand, I'll do it.
Because we're emotionally driven for the opportunity.
That's right.
Not to look at the value. So we're playing checkers, they're playing chess.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, an agent can't necessarily get you more money. It's simply them knowing how to play the game of back and
it's
forth
the strategy.
BS.
That's right.
They're not, and it's not that front office, it's not that they're crooks. They're simply just trying to pinch money so they can maybe sign a guy over slot that they drafted in the 17th round that they can get as a steal instead of, convincing him not to go to college, whatever it is. It's a business. It's not anything personal. But again, it's like they're doing their job. We need somebody on our side to simply do theirs to counter it. That you can't expect somebody that's a mechanic to all of a sudden build an airplane, that's working on cars all day long. You're not going to ask him to all of a sudden do something that's outside of his means of what you're doing.
Yeah. Funny enough, so we're at the Area Code Games. Next week is the Perfect Game All-American. I'm actually speaking at the Perfect Game All-American, and I was thinking about, what is the topic that I want to talk to these families? The players aren't there, it's just the families. What's the topic that I want to talk to all these families about who are going to be draft eligible next year? And what I landed on, and I'll tell you the first point, which I'm actually going to do a podcast on this, but the first point that I wanted to convey to these families is it's not personal. To the team, it's business. And as much as you're going to try to make it not personal, it will still be personal.
Yeah.
Because as a parent, this is my boy.
Yes.
How can it not be personal?
Yep.
And that dynamic, when it plays itself out, can be really, really challenging. So when you talk about a third party, an advisor, somebody who is helping you see things, it's not that this person is the Kool-Aid you're gonna
Sure.
drink and everything's gonna work out.
Yep.
But it's somebody that you're entrusting your career in, to where they are looking out and ensuring that, look, my job is to do what you want. And so if you're telling me you're not going to sign for less than $500,000,
Yep.
then I need to help make sure that you don't.
Yep.
If that's what you mean. If it's lower, then
$499 is not enough.
That's right. Then
Yep.
we need to have that conversation.
Yep.
And so I love that you said it's not personal. You've learned that, not necessarily going through the draft. You learned that because you worked your way through the minor leagues. You got to the big leagues. We went through the arbitration process.
And I'd be lying to anybody if I told you that I wasn't emotionally pissed off when all those things were transpiring. That it is demeaning when somebody says, "Oh, well, we're not going to pay you that much." Like, what do you mean? I'm a great player. Well, no, because you had 6 pass balls. That's going to be what, 10 grand a pass ball all of a sudden.
Right.
That because I was an all-star in my non-plateau year, that it's not worth as much as this year just because of timing. Like, I was still there, but I mean, it's all simply just a back and forth game that they're looking at it more as, they're not trying to necessarily convince somebody that you stink. They're simply just running a business on how to control millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that if they can maybe save 500 here, and here, that all of a sudden now they can afford a Paul Skeens that they're trying to maybe make a push for, or whatever the circumstance is. That I think overall, I played for probably 2 of the most penny pinching organizations at the time that looked at things of value more than they did of character or a clubhouse guy. Like Oakland and Tampa don't go out and get clubhouse guys for $10 million a year. You know, they're going out to get people that they can piece together to somehow justify not going out and getting a unrestricted free agent for $50 million, that they can piece together 4 guys and try and recreate them somehow.
Right.
That they've made movies and gave credit out to how they can reinvent the process of how they can recreate Jason Giambi on the field. Like,
right.
Sooner or later, like, yeah, you can probably justify it in a regular season, but I think as anyone knows, the guys that play every day are the guys holding the trophy at the end, not the part-time players that are back and forth. Because there's one game this game's always holds sturdy on, is consistency. And if you're not in there consistently enough, you don't get consistent results.
That's right. So a lot of my listeners are, parents of like the youth age kids, and they're really interested in obviously the college process. So talk to us a little bit about when you were making the decision on committing to Wichita State. Obviously, you're from Goddard, Kansas, right outside of Wichita. What were like, give me 3 of like the most important things for you as you were evaluating the college process. Like, what other schools were interested? How did you evaluate it?
At that time, we didn't quite tap into everyone having these 5-star facilities of indoors quite yet. That was still fairly new. That I actually took an official visit. One of them, I think I only took 3, was down to Arkansas. And they had just finished
the stadium.
All that. And I was wooed. I loved it there. Loved everything about it. Was about this close from being like, yeah, I'm in. And if it wasn't for my mom and dad going with me down there, which I wasn't a huge fan of, I probably would have emotionally committed in the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't, because they ended up signing a guy that they didn't think they had a shot at in between me leaving their campus and getting back home, like 3 or 4 day span. They had signed this kid and went from, come on in, we can't wait for you to get here, to, hey, we only have half a scholarship left. Like, why didn't that dude get the half scholarship? Why am I getting the shaft? And that's what drove me away from that. And it wasn't that Wichita State wasn't good enough, but they wowed me that much between the restaurants we went to the football game, just the way they made me feel. Like, I don't have to go to official visit to Wichita State for that. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Like, it's the big campus feeling was different for me, because I only knew Wichita State. Like, they don't know football, no nothing. Like, if you go there, you're baseball or you're a bowler, right? Like, so
yeah,
I always dreamed of Wichita State was always, a powerhouse. Like, they didn't know anything but winning for the longest time. And at the end of the day, it's not that it was second place, but like getting back home and understanding like, well, everyone is just kind of out for themselves, that they didn't actually care for me that much. They give everyone that same treatment. that it kind of made me feel like, well, your whole life you've wanted this. Maybe we just go with that.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had played with 3 or 4 guys here on my area code team that were already committed there. We had like a top 5 recruiting class. My best friend was going there. It just kind of made sense.
It felt right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of times when players make a decision, whether it's right after the official visit or not, there is something to be said for, I can't put words around it, but like
there's a reason why we have them, right?
Yeah, right.
Like,
that's a good
they're
point.
not bringing you in just to simply show you around. They're wanting to make you emotionally driven to make a commitment on the spot, because back then it actually meant something. And now we can, oh, I'm just kidding, I'm not coming there, and we can just transfer in and out. So that part's changed. But like, I feel as though that when you committed somewhere, it was like, you spent time thinking about it, that it wasn't something you could do as a freshman 1 year and then has to wait till your junior year and then they change it 2 years later. Like, it was always structured as like, this time is when you sign, you take your official visits here. And it was something that you took your time on because it meant something, you know? And, but yeah, Arkansas was very tempting.
What were the other schools? Or I guess you took 3 visits. So Wichita, Arkansas, and then.
I actually never went as an official visit to Wichita. I actually took one down to Oklahoma State. Family friends are always big fans of Oklahoma State. Frank Anderson was the head coach at that time. Great track record. They were building new facilities at that time, the new ones that they have now. And that was kind of an emotional one too. But I wanted to go to Arizona State. My parents wouldn't let me, rightfully so, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I didn't really take too many official visits.
Taking 3 visits, I feel like, is a perfect number. Sometimes kids, you know, they'll take 5, they'll take 8. It's like, it becomes so hard at that point to really evaluate.
Where it's at now, we're so emotionally driven to go to one conference and one conference only, because it's head over heels above everybody else as far as the talent level, what they're getting, money wise, conference wise, like up and down, even in softball, basketball, football. Big Ten competes here and there, but overall, like, the SEC is the place to go. If you're looking for somewhere, that's where you go. Like, that's the pinnacle of collegiate athletics right now. And if it were me all over again, I probably would pick Arkansas, simply because now Wichita State's no longer the powerhouse.
Right.
They're more Oral Roberts than they are a blue blood. And so that portion of it, if it were me now, I would definitely have gone with that route, but it wasn't that drastic at that time. So, I mean, it's just, it really has changed a whole lot. Not just the rules, but really just where it's segregated so bad to where it's like, you sign a $4 billion TV contract. Like, no, Wichita State can't compete with that at Cox Cable in Wichita. Yeah. You know, it's just, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Once they opened up the floodgates of that, they weren't going to be able to control it.
Yeah. Did you get to a place where when you got to pro ball, it like set in where it's like, oh, you know, I knew it was going to be different, but I just like, I now see how
when I opened my hotel room door and it was a Latin guy in my room.
Right. And probably didn't speak much English, if any.
Said hello and he looked at me like I spoke hieroglyphics. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to communicate with him.
Wow. Was he a pitcher?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're like, hey, catcher, pitcher, let's put these 2 guys together. Yep. Was it a drastic thing to see at first when because I think what happens is kids in high school, they're the best in their area.
No doubt. Yep.
You obviously get drafted and everybody tells you, hey, pro ball's a different level. Everybody's going to be good. But really, when you get to the pro level, it doesn't matter what level that is. You could be in the AZL or the GCL, the lowest level. And everybody that you're surrounded by is also the best kid in their area.
No doubt.
And everybody on some level, you know, there's money invested in certain players. Certain players, whether you think that they have the skill set or not, certain players have more opportunity than others.
No doubt.
And so you have to figure out, okay, I have to put myself in a position where I am getting better every single day. I am, regardless of the opportunity. Like, there could be another catcher who literally is playing 4 days a week and you're playing 2, and I got to figure something out with this. Like, I don't have the luxury of, like, there's no excuses.
No, there's no starting job given. Simply, the next guy's right behind you. And if it's not, they're going to draft him, because it's not about that. It's not about filling a roster spot in AA.
Right.
They're developing a system because at some point you're going to hit the skids and they need somebody that's going to be right up you to keep you going.
So speak mentally. What was that like when you first got into pro ball?
For me, it was a little bit overwhelming. I hadn't had much experience catching that level of speed. So in Kansas high school baseball, not the fastest pitching that I'd ever seen. I'd never seen a 90-mile-an-hour slider. I'd seen a handful of guys throw 90 plus, just period, that I was a little exposed defensively. I didn't catch much in rookie ball. They just had me DH because I was a little raw. So when I got into instructional league was where it hit me the most. And instructional league is simply spring training, and then you go play a game with no end. Everyone that's lined up to pitches, and you could play 9, 11, 13, 15 innings if need be. I didn't play any games. So at lunchtime, I'd go back out with the catching coordinator, and he'd feed balls through the machine while they were playing the entire game. About 13 shopping carts was my record for one day.
And was that just
receiving, blocking, footwork, bunts, wild pitches, whatever facet of catching is, whatever it was.
I think this could be great for them to hear. Do you remember the progression? Like we did, 30 just normal receiving, and
whenever the cart finished, we switched.
Oh, wow.
So whatever they use in the All-Star game to throw home run derby, that's a shopping cart. So whenever we get through it, and he'd give me water breaks. It's not like it was.
That's like 50 balls.
No, it's more than that. No, there's probably 80 to 100 in those. Yeah.
And it's just nonstop.
Nonstop, every day. And not only that, during our practice sessions in the mornings, I would have early work and regular work with the other guys. And then when they go play games, back on. And at the time I was like, this is not fun at all. Like,
yeah, and you're in Florida at the time.
Yeah, and Instructs is 6 weeks long.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're not going to play in any games. What? Like what am I doing here? Well, you're gonna get better. And I was fortunate. Our catching coordinator was, I don't know if I could have asked for not only a better human being, but somebody that took the time to guide me through the process.
Who was it?
Bob Henley.
Oh yeah.
He grew to be almost a father figure in no favoritism way, that he simply would have done it with whomever it was that needed it. Obviously, I needed it. But he was my rookie ball manager. And then after that summer, he got the job of catching coordinator right after that. So he was my manager to start. He saw where I was at, and then he had the ability to counter it with being my catching coordinator. But yeah, he was not my favorite person for those 6 weeks.
Never is, right?
And then when I went home finally, they're like, oh, how'd you swing it? I didn't get in at that.
But you're obviously swinging in the cage.
I could do the early work and batting practice and stuff. But I was there 6 weeks and didn't play an inning.
That's crazy.
Not only is it miserable baseball that they're playing, that I had the perspective of, I wish I could just be miserable over there with them, because I was by myself. Like, even if you're over there playing, you're still involved in conversations with coaches, you're still playing. Like, I was literally on field 9 with another dude in a machine, just getting absolutely torched. And that next spring training, when I came back, I was actually able to control speed, velocity, spin.
In that short amount of time,
Yeah, I probably got 1.5 years worth of regular reps for your average Joe in 6 weeks. Because truly 10,000 plus baseballs in 6 weeks that I didn't want to even look at a mitt.
Did you do this every day?
Yeah. No, you don't have any days off in Instructs.
No, but as far as the receiving work, like it was literally...
He would pick a couple different aspects of catching that we would focus on for that 3+ hours of work. But we would have, shop talk, and he would give me a little breather. It wasn't like he was sending me in hell week. It was work. Maybe he would know if I was gassed, be like, hey, get you some water, we'll sit down and talk. And then it wasn't necessarily anything specific. Like, he truly developed me into things that he learned, we'd talk about hitting, we'd talk about catching, calling a game. Like, he was literally almost like he had designed a program for me before I even was in his life. It seemed like he had a great feel for where I was at. His demeanor was perfect. It wasn't all up on me. He was simply, hey, it's not good enough. No balls past you. Ball drops out of your mitt, we start over. I know the bounds now. Ball clinks out of my mitt, I know I got to start over. Like, that type of stuff. That anything that was within my palms being out like this was supposed to be dead in front of me if it was blocked. Like, one that kicks off is unacceptable. Drops were not acceptable. Like, it took that level of commitment for me to get better, because if I didn't, no one cares if, big leaguer clank him all the time with this new glove swipe. No one cares.
Yeah.
That for him, start over. That you wouldn't be behind the plate tomorrow if you drop one.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I think, some of these young players could watch a big league game and you see guys clank stuff all the time.
It's become acceptable.
There's also context that's needed too, because it's, here you are in the minor leagues grinding through all this stuff, trying to be a perfectionist on some level with your movement. And you see, let's just say even that same year, catcher in the big leagues, misplays a ball, whatever. And you almost need to be reminded but go look at who that catcher is. And he hit 30 homers last year. So there are things that are a little more acceptable at the next level and that's where the business starts to come into play, right?
No doubt, dude. And what he may counter with, attribute wise, that he may clank some, or he may have a wet noodle for an arm, but the dude receives well, steals X amount of strikes, and he drives in 85 to 100 a year and hits 270. Yeah. They can steal all they want because no one steals anyway. That type of stuff. That truly, there's not very many guys in this game that can do both, which is be an elite catcher and hit like an elite hitter, and not just be like, he hits well for a catcher. One of the worst compliments I ever got was, hey, you run pretty well for a catcher. It's like, is that like skinny for a fat guy? What does that even mean?
Right.
We're not thought of as efficient baseball players. Typically we do one well and the other very unsatisfactory.
Sure.
That even some that have done it at times, there's never some that do it for 5 consecutive years and are truly even guys like Yadier. He got gold gloves because of reputation at times, and not because he was just that elite, because he was for such a long time that it was just simply hey, he's better than everyone else. So just give it to him, that he, even at times he was very unsatisfactory offensively, but still was recognized for how great he really was. 20 years.
You mentioned game calling. How big of an adjustment was that for you?
Never ending evolution of learning, that there's not one way to do it. It's subject to some information on their offensive guy. You have to know, for instance, Nolan Arenado in his prime in Colorado. If he's hot, it don't matter what any of that says, you can't throw him anything. Paul Goldschmidt was the same way. That if he could be hitting 100 on sliders, he's going to park 3 of them that night just because he's red hot. That the guy on the mound is a combination between knowing him, what he does well, what he doesn't do well, and kind of feeling out towards looking at swings, looking at patterns, looking at things that you've pitched him in previous at-bats. It's all just it's a shot in the dark. I mean, you could throw 27 fastballs right down the middle and throw a perfect game in theory, but it's looked at a little more intently because it's I hung a slider. I probably should have thrown a fastball there. No, you should have just thrown the slider where you should have thrown it, and we're not even having this conversation.
Right.
But it's a lot of things that I learned about, how to tunnel and X corners from guys like James Shields, and then different guys like Ian Kennedy, who would rather throw a fastball away than his secondary pitch of being a breaking ball and hanging it. He would rather give up a homer on his best pitch, stuff like that, where Shields would rather make up a pitch on the mound than give in, just learning from guys like that. These don't really matter if he's not convinced that he wants to execute that pitch. Like a caddy for a golfer, they do nothing but just carry your golf bag, but they know that, hey, that's the right club for you. You're automatically in a better mindset.
Sure.
That psychologically, I'm a huge advocate of it, that if you're in the right mindset, be like, oh yeah, I got this little cut from 160 yards. I stink, but I execute it if I'm convinced that I'm going to go do it. You're more apt to have success.
So how much did you feel like as you kind of grew as a catcher, getting into the big leagues and then being a guy who now has got some recognition, the role of being that reinforcement, I'll call it, with the pitcher, letting him know.
We're their caddy.
Right. So
for sure.
At what point did you realize that?
So because I was in a platoon in Oakland for those few years, I was never given that opportunity to just go be our starting catcher. It was always an influx, always that insecurity. I could go 3 for 3 with 3 tanks.
And I'm not in line.
And I get taken out in a 6th inning because a righty came in.
Yeah.
That part was very difficult for me. And that, not that it put pressure on me, but I was never truly able to grasp the defensive side with the pitchers, because as soon as I could get somewhere with them or have a good idea of where we're at, the dude's coming in and he has no idea what we talked about. So it was kind of odd. So I finally found that when I got traded to San Diego, that I actually, when I showed up to spring training, we made a bevy of moves for guys.
Yeah, you got Kimbrel as the closer. Matt Kemp was there.
Borderline 6 different Hall of Famers potentially come over, and Kimbrel and the Upton brothers, Matt Kemp, James Shields. I mean, we brought, Preller might have made as many trades that offseason.
I remember. And that was like his first year, I think, right? Or first or second?
No, it was his first. He got the job, and like 2 weeks later, he made these trades. Yeah, it's crazy. When I finally felt as though, like when Preller traded for me, he's like, hey, I've loved you since I was in Texas. Like I tried to get them to trade for you multiple times. Like I really love what you bring to the table. Like that gave me the comfortability to be like, I'm an everyday player now. Like I don't have to worry about some left-handed hitter coming in the 6th inning. Like they're telling me, we want you to be our thoroughbred. We want you to lead our staff, whatever. Short-lived for 60 games. But
well, Oakland on some level too, like coming up with Oakland, they were the I guess the in a sense, they created this whole platoon idea more than anybody. So like,
it doesn't take you long to figure out like what the theory is, right? Like we have switch hitters for a reason. But again, I'm also a firm advocate. Like if you got a dude that's red hot, he's hitting anything from 100 all the way down to 62. Right. And it doesn't matter what the matchup is or what their green, their sheet that they used. It was truly just red, green, and whatever shade in between. Pitcher here, hitter here, wherever they meet. That's what they decided. And one day it was white and they didn't know what to do because it was equal. It wasn't green, it wasn't red. And he was like, Chip, I don't know if I should pinch hit him or not. I'm like, this is my life. We're talking about two different colors on the spectrum.
Yeah.
That's what's deciding the fate if I get this at bat or not.
That's what makes you realize it's a business.
And again, I get it. I thrived in a platoon role, but it also took me about a year because I didn't know there was a difference in approach between pinch hit and a regular at bat. I was always very passive. If you're passive as a pinch hitter, you're done. I didn't learn that until Johnny Gomes decided to, for whatever reason, went well out of his way to...
Johnny's the best.
And even teammates of his said, I've never really seen him ever go out of his way to help a really young guy that normally he steers clear from him because they piss him off. But I think because he was thrown into that in a time period where he knows what that felt like, and he didn't want someone to go on that same path. That's similar to what I do now. Like,
sure.
I give these kids these little 2 cents because if I can shorten their learning curve whenever I was seeking for that, that's a terrible feeling to have. Like, being in the middle of an A-ball season and not knowing if your swing is worth a crap or not, and not someone be like, hey, dude, you're just fine. You're just a little bit late. Like, that would have gone so far for me that he said, what are you thinking when you go up there and pinch it? I'm like, well, I like to take a pitch typically to get my, eyes adapted to the flight, how it's coming out. But if I swing and I roll over one, I'm really pissed off. He goes, what's the difference between that and the 7th pitch? Well, nothing. It's still an out. He's like, you got to get there and be aggressive. He goes, by no means is anyone ever going to be successful pinch hitting or hitting, period. That our odds of getting a hit are cut in half when we pinch hit. That he goes, if you go up there and you wait, these guys are too good. If you give them one, you're decreasing your odds by half.
Exactly.
And I'm like, it makes sense, but like, how am I ever? He goes, you're just gonna have to go up there with a completely different mindset. He goes, you ever pinch hit before in the minor leagues? Well, hell no. I started every game I played it. And he goes, that's what's the problem with it. They expect you to come up here and do something you've never practiced to do. It's no different than you go up there left-handed. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. And then I got my first pinch hit. I was like, I don't think I've ever swung into first pitch of a game of a first at bat like that ever before. But just little things like that helped me along and kind of got me. I think I wasn't even hitting my weight at that time. I was on my way to AAA and I hadn't played in a week. And I finally got an at bat, and then I got to start the next day because I got a hit. Like, cool. Like it felt like it'd been a month. But yeah, little things like that kind of went a long ways. That it's not easy being in a platoon. That like no matter what you do, you ain't playing for a week if there's no lefties. Like, what do you mean? The dude's just going to play every day? Because 90% of pitchers are right-handed. And when you look up at the scoreboard and you see you're hitting 360, but you have 17 at bats, like it's tough.
Better 360 than 160.
Well, yeah, but if you're hitting 160 and playing every day, it's a little bit easier to cope with than like, what do I have to do to get more respect, more opportunities? And they don't believe in that, and that part's tough psychologically. That it took someone like Johnny. If it wasn't for him, I probably would have played those couple months and washed up, because it was truly that tough for me to wrap my head around. Is everywhere I've ever been, you bang? Yeah, you playing? Like, what do you mean not playing? You went 3 for 3, sit the bench.
Yeah.
Like, what? No.
It's more common nowadays too, because now everybody's followed suit and everybody platoons.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger's pretty much are running that the exact same system that we did. And that part, not that you can't succeed doing that, because I think you do target a certain demographic of player while trying to do that, but you don't know they're that type of player until after you've traded or got them in your system, but it's definitely how they pick and choose who does that. I'm not sure that I can't imagine that a made up algorithm can simply predict somebody's unpredicted future of never done it.
I've said this a lot, but like this industry is so incestuous. Everybody is trying to recreate the success that this team that just won the World Series had before. And so
you see it in a circle. It's like we had a reliever starting games for Tampa, like for two times they did it. Now the next year, every single team's doing it. It's like, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the first three hitters of the lineup are probably at least three of the top hitters in their lineup.
Yeah.
It makes sense to start somebody of significance to start the inning and give them the starter the back end to get it his rhythm or whatever. Like, why no one ever did it before? Tradition.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, it's just people try and find different ways to beat the curve. But at the end of the day, starters went back into the starting role. Relievers went back into the relieving role. That it's, for me, we're only just a kick away from truly just having all relievers. That starters will be obsolete. Like 3 innings will be your max. Because we're so afraid to repeat the order. It's like hitters are hitting lower averages now than I think they ever have.
Yeah.
Collectively, that the elite of the elite are hitting for extremely high averages is because they don't chase. And pitchers are not as efficient as they once were. So they make more mistakes. That the elite hit 330, Judge, the Otanis, that they skyrocket, and everyone else is just kind of bottom dwellers. It's a odd time in the major leagues that they can't make up their minds if they're going to still try and hit home runs or if they're going to adapt, and there's a reason why that the pinnacle of the elite continue to succeed so much higher than everyone else. Is because they're not only are they talented, but they don't chase outside the zone. When they make mistakes, they make them pay for it. That other people, when they're trying to hit home runs, they're not making them pay for their mistakes.
I'm assuming that you saw plenty of guys in the minor leagues and even in the big leagues who, maybe were bonus babies, got drafted high and didn't make it.
Oh, God, yeah.
What do you think it was about those guys, without naming names, but what was it about what they lacked that in pro ball, it's not going to reward? Just like, here's the reality. When you sign for a lot of money, what it does is it guarantees that you're going to get opportunity. But what it's not going to do is guarantee that the money is going to always be more important than the result.
I think to an extent, for the most part, a first round pick that's not a complete bust is going to get a big league opportunity to justify them picking them high, especially a top 10 pick.
And so let's talk about why. So obviously, general manager involved in that pick, scouting director involved in that pick, a lot of money invested.
Sure.
So if this guy doesn't make it, the general manager, the scouting director, that's a miss.
I think it's an ego thing for sure. That
I don't even know if it's ego as much as that's a miss. So it's not that I am going to make decisions. Like, here's the reality. I don't think they're like, we're going to ignore the result and guarantee he's going to get to the big leagues. But we gave this guy $5 million. We have to do everything in our power to give him the chance to get to the big leagues. But
collectively, they gave so much more to the rest of the draft that if they don't make it, they don't think anything of it. But simply because it's a first round pick or whatever the circumstance,
there's just more attention.
$5 million's pennies on the dollar compared to what you're paying in your
the rest of the bonus pool.
Yeah, and not only that, but you're paying your big league team. Like $5 million is a bench player that comes off the bench. So it's like, I think for me, they take so much pride in their draft that I don't think they do the amount of due diligence when they scout these guys. That if you're not having the people set in stone to develop them, then you're just simply leading this kid into an abyss because he's never failed before. When he fails, there's certain teams that do it well. For instance, the Dodgers. Outfielders, pitchers, and catchers are 3 things they develop in the minor leagues emphatically. That they take the excess in those prospects and trade for the positions that they don't develop well. They only draft pitchers, outfielders, and catchers. They don't even waste their time unless it's a bona fide can't miss like a Corey Seager or something like that. They'll go out and trade for Trey Turner, Manny Machado. They've done it for years. That why people don't do that more. Like, it's not that there's people that have a heavy impact on collectively a whole minor league system's tough to teach how to hit. That some people get exposed because the jump from amateur high school baseball to professional is a massive jump. That you go from 80 poo to 98 with a breaker, that you've never seen that before. If you don't have somebody to simply guide you along that process psychologically, they're physically able to do these things. I mean, it's not that a guy couldn't hit a breaking ball. He couldn't psychologically think fastball, react to the breaking ball because he couldn't stop thinking about the breaking ball, and then he let the heater go. Like, now he's starting to spiral. And if no one's there to catch you and develop you, before too long, you don't know if you're left or right-handed.
Right.
And you see it happen with baseball more than anything because it's a mind game. One day you wake up and you feel like you're swinging a sword and you just went 4 for 4 the night before. And it just plays mind games with you. That if you don't have somebody be like, hey, dude, your swing is fine. Stop hitting so much in the cage. Change your mindset. That it's all about your mitts. Everyone says it's 99% mental. It's true. That your swing doesn't change throughout the course of the season. That we try and think, oh, I missed that pitch because my mechanics. No, it's just timing. When he's throwing 100 miles an hour and you're trying to time him up with 2 round pieces, it makes sense as to why it's difficult. Like, we get so carried away with our mechanics of our swing, which have
because it's controllable, right?
We have our time and place for those things, but those muscle patterns are going to be there. That if you move your hands half an inch, it feels like you moved them a foot.
Well, think about this. So as a hitter, all baseball players, you guys are competitive. So if you're a hitter and you're going up to the plate, you could take a really good swing on a pitch. You could strike out, you could fly out, ground out, whatever. You could also hit a homer, but let's assume you get out. It's so easy as a competitor to be like, I failed.
Every out we make, full knowing 3 out of 10 times, we're in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
We all know that going in.
Right.
Simply, that's not good enough. We're chasing a ghost. And because we can't have that is why we're so emphatic on perfectionism. You know, that if we went 3 for 10, we're not happy. But yet we're in the Hall of Fame if we reach that in a career aspect of things. That if we roll over one fastball, you can't stop thinking about it for 3 days. Like, we simply, like, that's what we get caught up in. That's what part of it is like, I learned after I was done playing that there's 2 controllable variables that you can control in the game of baseball. If you get started on time and you swung at a good pitch, those 2 things are the only 2 things you control. Once it touches your bat, you're no longer in control of where it goes. And I wish I knew that when I played, because my life I would have destroyed less bat racks and things that would have drove me nuts for weeks, that kept me in slumps, that I simply like, where did my swing go? I'm working on my swing in the cage. It feels good. Why doesn't it translate? It was here, not here. And those things I try and teach is that we calibrate our swing all winter long. You just have to go out and trust it. That we focus on more narrow-minded things like timing, approach, what we're looking for, picking up on patterns, thinking the game of baseball and not guessing the game of baseball. You know, because once you start thinking, oh, where are my hands? Where are the strike three is already there.
Yeah.
And those things I try and instill on most of my guys. Like, sometimes we do mechanical things that are wrong, and that's simply just to talk you off the ledge so you can go to sleep at night.
Right. Well, I think the thing that most players do with the bat is, if something is happening negatively at the plate, meaning I get out for a repeated period of time, it has to be mechanical.
We have to blame it on something.
We need to control it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There's got to be something I can do to fix this.
Saying that I just wasn't on time is acceptance. We don't want to accept failure. No matter the circumstance, that we fail 7 out of 10 times, we're really good. You know, and that part I think is difficult to accept. No different than golf. You can do everything right and still duck hook it into the crap, just depending on 1 degree of
Sure.
change. And baseball's, I think, because we know we can't reach it, we want it more. And trying to look at specifically on the hitting side, if we start calibrating our brains to looking at success and unsuccessful based upon 2 variables, we stop chasing hits. And when you chase hits, they avoid you.
Right.
And
So instead, okay, let's look at these 2 variables. Was I on time?
Good.
No, I was not.
Good.
Right? Okay. Well, if I wasn't on time, then why would I expect that I was going to square this ball up?
Exactly. That when your brain recognizes that ball's getting on you, we make physical moves to try and manipulate the barrel to get to the baseball. That if we can justify it as you're 1 for 1 if you swung at a good pitch and we were on time, we're 1 for 1. Keep it in a notebook, and at the end of the day, you're going to feel a whole lot better about your at-bats. And I think in the end, you're going to like where you're at statistically
So
too.
do you have your hitters because I know you work for some pro guys. Do you have them for like every at bat answer the question like, yes, I was on time. Yes, I swung at a good pitch?
I would really love for them to when we really get down to when we get into like little funks, because no one reaches out when they're scorching hot, and they're ripping the core, the core off the baseball. Because I mean, hey, did you like that swing today? Like, yeah. What is there to say about a good swing?
Sure.
I mean, we only want to nitpick when we don't do things right.
Yeah, when they feel lost.
Right. And everyone's guilty of it, that if something doesn't feel right or we don't have success, we ultimately think we have to work harder towards something when truthfully, yeah, you just swung a bad pitch, dude. Or, hey, he got nasty on you. I don't know who could hit that pitch. That accepting that is just beneath you whenever you're in that competitive mode. That I was the same way. That as I got older and I started, thinking about the game a little bit differently and more of a bird's eye view and truly looking back on different things that truly mattered. When I had success, where was my success? Well, we calibrate our swing off of a tee for a reason. We're calibrating the exact same swing to hit mistakes. We hit mistakes. Who's a bad ball hitter in the big leagues? Is Ohtani, does he hit it off the ground and at his face? No, he hits the stuff that's right in the middle of the plate. And the elite of the elite don't miss them. You know why they don't miss them? Because they're on time. That understanding that there are more gifted players than others with strength, leverage, size, all the above, bat speed. O'Neal Cruz and me right now are not going to have the same batting average if we went out there and we were both on time.
Yeah.
That there are genetic freaks, but also to understand that no matter how genetically blessed they are, they also don't have the understanding of what we're trying to learn here, because we don't have that. We have to learn other things to try. And then that's the way I had to play, because I didn't have an absolute rocket for an arm. I couldn't hit things into a popcorn bucket in the upper deck. Like, I had to find these fine-tuned things to think about the game differently, study scouting reports, different things that my perspective on how the game was for me. I had to do those things to stay up there with the 6'4" donkey power hitting guys. Because on my best day, I hit in the fifth row.
Right.
For someone that paid high money for those seats. So I think that's part of the reason why I look at it the way I do, is like, you don't have to be genetically blessed to be successful at this game. That at any given moment, the worst player can defeat the best player.
It's the beauty of the game of baseball.
It is. And it is a beautiful game, but I think hitting's easy, getting hits is hard. And if we're making swinging a baseball bat harder than it needs to be, we're already defeating ourselves from the very beginning.
Who taught you those two? Or I guess you said you wish you would have known this when you were playing. So
nobody.
So it was just this realization you had after.
It wasn't like I woke up one day. Just when I first got out of the game, I didn't really have the best of feelings going out. And I through the whole COVID and everything, being by myself at my house with nothing going on, I finally started watching baseball again after all that time. A couple of years went by. And I was like, I don't actually want to throw something at the screen whenever I see somebody that I played with that I thought I was better than still getting opportunities that I felt like I deserved. Because that wore on me for a little while, and I finally got over it. But then I started watching the game, and I started studying it a lot more, whether it was kinematically with the body or whether it was why are people so much more successful than others besides the obvious. And it wasn't always a constant that they were genetically more gifted. What do they do? Well, what is on time? What does timing mean? We know kind of a generic version of it. Like, when do they do these motions? They're mirroring him, that we make motions towards each other in similar ways. Like, when does that happen? So I just kind of started doing a little more detailed research on, we have different stances hitting, but we have one pitching motion. Like, why is that? Well, it's for timing, that different people like different things to get in certain positions. But at the end of the day, we get into one position, and that's here. How we get there is irrelevant, but when we get there is the relevant part. So I just started researching a little bit more, in that I found out the exact time when the elite of the elite get their foot down. Everyone always says, every coach that you ever watch a game, get your foot down. Do they ever tell you when to pick it up?
Right.
Because if you pick your foot up, it's got to go down. So then I just started looking at, like, any coach that's ever told you to get your foot down, you end up getting it down later than you were before, because you're focused on when it gets down, not when it picks up. So just little things like that I started to look at, like, when do people get on time? Like, when do they actually start? And then when you start at a certain time and you know exactly when you pick your foot up, then it's easier to be on time as opposed to not really knowing. So just really kind of breaking it down and kind of looking at it that way. Then that started to make a little bit more sense that, like, how do we know we're on time if we don't know what on time is? Because our whole life we could have thought we were on time until you feel what on time is. And you're like, I haven't been doing this my entire life.
Well, so what is on time? Like, what's your definition?
Depending on what type of stance, leg kick, non-leg kick, whatever it is, that whatever our separation and our load, we have to be in our furthest point back when we see release. That if the ball's already in flight and we're moving back and then forward,
It's too late.
it's too much. So like I noticed that whatever their leg kick trout, whether it was Miggy with the toe tap, that whenever their hands separated to get back, we were here. So at that point, we're simply moving towards target and not having to worry about loading back and forth with movement of the head is too much, that the game speeds up on you. That, and that part made a lot of sense, that if we can pick up release point with a stable head, now we're able to make an attempt to go at the baseball and not have to worry about anything else other than just one direction.
So do you see, and because you work, I mean, look, I think there's a difference, right? We were talking about this earlier. You could talk to a kid who's, let's say, 11 years old, and like they're not at a place with their body that they have the ability to like manipulate certain things. But do you see kids, 16, 17, 18 years old, where like you've actually talked to them about this concept and it's resonated?
Every one of them.
Really?
Every one of my guys that I work with, I teach them the exact same, whether they're in AAA, whether they're in high school, whether they're in college, whomever it is, that until you show me you can't do these things, I'm going to give you what I would give a major leaguer.
So give these families, because this is a great conversation, like, what is the progression? If you were taking a kid in the cage for the first time, what's the progression?
Depending on the time of year, if we're in off-season mode, that I go about things a little different. So during season, I don't do as much mechanics, because I think if you're trying to calibrate your swing differently, we're going to go out and play in 2 days or tomorrow or maybe even tonight. I can't give you something new to work on because you're going to be me spiraling in the...
Yeah, you're going to be thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So more so when I have people come in for that, I'm just trying to free them up. Like if they're stiff and rigid, or if they're just trying to get them to feel rhythmatic, that when we feel rhythm in the box and we're moving, we at least make an attempt to be a little more aggressive.
All right. So pause for a second, because I think this is fantastic. So parents, if it is in the middle of the spring high school season and you think there's this massive overhaul of the swing that needs to be made, and I agree with this, one of the worst things that could happen is like, we need to let's just say a kid's got a leg kick. He's been doing it for 5 years.
And it all depends on if I've had a lesson with them prior to. If it's a brand new one, 100% no-go zone.
Right. So I'm thinking about the parent who's like, hey, you should really stop doing this and we should just go back to the basics, how you used to swing 5 years ago. Yeah. It's like, there's a time and a place for that. It's probably not the right time. Yep. And that doesn't mean the change doesn't ultimately need to happen.
Right.
But if you think you're going to send your son to the game tomorrow and he's going to feel good at the plate, having completely revamped his swing overnight, not going to happen.
I'm a firm advocate that if it's a non-moving baseball off of a tee, dry swings, we can have focal points that are advanced as far as up here. As soon as we get a moving baseball involved, our muscle memory is no longer thinking about these things because we have to think about that thing.
Yeah.
And as soon as we think about these, we take away from that, which is why we stink. But I think most importantly, you could have a god-awful swing path, a swing. If we're on time, our chances go way up. That we could have the most beautiful swing and still really stink because we're never on time. That understanding that a beautiful swing or a bad swing is simply just perspective. That I've seen guys with the worst, ugliest swings I've ever seen that absolutely raked because they had a knack for finding a barrel. Their hand-eye coordination was elite. That they could be in the worst position ever and still find a barrel. And I've seen kids with the most beautiful swing that looked like they had a hole in their bat. They couldn't understand why. Well, you were never on time, ever. And I think that everyone tends to think this because somebody's swing is why they fail. Well, they're thinking about their swing because they can't not get you out of their head because you're screaming at them from the aluminum bleachers that they need to get their foot down. So immediately what they think of is not hitting the baseball. They're thinking about their foot. So I think just understanding that when we do these things and we try and get this beautiful swing, doesn't matter if we don't understand the basics of it, which is to be on time.
So, and I interrupted you there a little bit, but going back to, you have this kid in the cage for the first time, assume it's the off season. What is that progression?
Depending on the age group of what I'm working with, I typically have my TrackMan out and we're looking at exit speed type of stuff. So if I were to start from square one with a kid, I'm giving him some T drills that are truly like free motion stuff, like slow pitch softball leg kicks, aggressive moves towards. I want to see how fast you can move. What's your version of moving as fast as we can, and getting the metrics and showing him, and not quite video yet, but showing him like, see, when you did this was your old swing. This might feel stupid, but we got 7 miles an hour of exit speed. If you don't know what that means, that's about 35 feet in game time, like this type of stuff. So using the modern metrics to show them, like, you may think you look stupid with this stance, but your exit speed skyrocketed. Who doesn't like results? We learn to get over those when we see all of a sudden a number that we don't really truly understand, but it makes sense. That if I were to just tell you, hey, that looks good, you wouldn't buy into it. So kind of just learning about that type of stuff, that where you move best doesn't feel good ever at first.
Not at first.
We make subtle mechanical changes every now and then. Ooh, that feels right. No one that ever tries these out, there's a reason why we do them, is because you're stuck somewhere. That lifting your leg and getting like massive stride length and flushing something is something a pitcher does. Why does a pitcher leg kick and come down the mountains? Because he's producing the most kinematic force by doing that. It only makes logical sense for us to mirror that going the opposite direction. So I start there, and obviously everyone doesn't have to leg kick, but truly just to free them up to the point where they're able to truly release their body fully is usually where I start. And kind of using the technology, which is kind of why I have to work with some older demographic of guys, because if I told a 5-year-old to leg kick and let it eat, it's still going to come off like a Nerf ball. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So to truly have the ability to have a step on it mode and a nice smooth mode, I've yet to learn the patience to work with the younger demographic. I could definitely help them, but verbally, I have a tough time communicating with them because I haven't had much experience.
Yeah, and there's a time and a place too. I think some kids may be 11 years old and be super hungry and willing to learn, and like they're more physically advanced, but for the majority of them, there's a time and a place. It's not there yet.
Yeah, and I don't think you need a $25,000 machine to tell them that they're just a little bit stiff and rigid.
Yeah.
And they just need to move, and it all just depends. And I usually will never teach somebody anything without watching them swing 10, 15 reps to see what my eye catches. It could be the hands are just going well out of control and there's no coiled tension in their midsection. There's no lower half engagement. There's no separation. There's no back coil. A lot of kids do similar things right now in the amateur level, that a lot of the drill sets that I give them at the beginning are the same, but no client I ever treat or go about the process the exact same.
No, yeah, because it's all,
they suffer from the same issues, that we want to try and get the ball in the air, and the first thing we do is collapse and try and swing up. It's like, we can't. Like, we will get so exposed. Like, you may not with 70 poo throwing, but as soon as where you want to get to, you will simply be so exposed you want to quit.
Mm-hmm.
So just getting them to understand, like, swing path is equally as important as anything we do. And we do, I call them percentage swings. I'll literally have them swing a 10% swing and they're always like 75%.
Yeah, right.
They still hit it to the back. And I'm like, no, truly, this is what I want you to swing like. It's going to go 2 feet. But for you to truly understand what you're doing without seeing it on video, you have to slow-mo it and feel every single small motion, when then we work our way up. And I've yet to come across an individual that doesn't have success with that. And it's boring as hell for them because they just want to waffle it to the back cage and see how high they can get their exit speeds and all that stuff. It's like, dude, that's where you get this. This is what gives you that, is truly understanding how we move our body correctly.
Yeah, I was watching a video of Tiger Woods and what's his name? Butch Harmon, his swing coach. This is back in the day. And there's like a famous video where Tiger's a young kid at the time, and he literally, Butch Harmon would get him to stop at the top of the swing and just wait there.
Yep.
And then just swing over and over from that position.
Yep.
So of course, I go to the range and I like try it once, and I was like, I'm not doing that.
Oh, it goes terribly.
Oh, it's
I've
awful.
I've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, he won was it 9 tournaments in one season, and he wanted to make a swing change because he said it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't good enough.
Well, yeah, to the
Yeah.
99.9 percentile, but he wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
And it's not one trick isn't for everybody, but for the most part, that amateur level, if we're trying to manipulate things we see on TV, we're kind of digging our own grave. That I think we have to know that we have to start somewhere and build into our own. That we can't simply start with our own and expect the same on TV. It's fun to emulate those swings to see if it works, but there's a reason why they got theirs because they started from somewhere else. That even a guy like Judge, like his whole life, he did not have his hands out here. Like he had to start somewhere and learn and adapt to find out what's not you before you can find out what is you.
I'm curious if you experience this as a player too. You know, I feel like on some level, you are your best hitting coach because, and even guys that work with you who have access to you when they go out and they're playing, you know, like you're the only one that's in your body every day going through and feeling how it feels. And so if I guess this is more of a reminder for people who put it in their mind that like, so-and-so is my savior. He's my Kool-Aid. He's the guy.
Crutch.
Yeah, he's my crutch. He's the guy that if he's there and he sees it, if he says it, it's like it's the gospel.
Got to be it.
Yeah. And it's just a dangerous thing because
it is.
You get to a place where it's like, well, he's not going to be with you every single day.
Right. And we run into that issue a lot with some of my guys. Like I'm available as a resource for them. One of my guys has a bad game, ring, 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 no more than 13 minutes after the last out's recorded on the app. Like I'm getting a buzz. I know if he goes 0 for 4 with 2 punchies, I'm getting a ring.
Is this our friend that we know? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's clockwork. I can literally tell you to the exact minute because he is not eating. He's taking it to go box. He's hopping in his car.
He like wants to talk about it.
Oh yeah. Because if not, he's going to hang himself from a shower curtain when he gets home. Like he has to be talked off the ledge. And majority of the time, I'm not telling him anything of value. I'm just telling him what I know he wants to hear.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, man, we're just a little bit there or whatever. But the majority of it is that we either swung at bad pitches and we chased or we were late.
Well, so how many times, like when you're having these conversations, are you reminding him of like, well, where are you at with the 2 things?
Depends on what type of state of mind. If he's just simply blowing off steam, me reiterating that's probably just going to simply, like he don't want to hear that right now.
Yeah.
That sometimes understanding the emotional state that he's in, because everyone's hot after a bad game. Sometimes instead of calling up your dad and your dad telling you those things, you want to call up somebody of neutral value that's just gonna be like, yeah, dude, like I had some nasty stuff tonight. I know, dude. I kept throwing me that freaking slider and I kept bouncing it off my foot. Like, yeah. Truthfully, the reason why you kept doing it is because you're trying to hit it up. You're not trying to be level with it. I could tell you were sitting breaking ball, that you got away from your approach to what's made you successful, which is never leave the heater. Different things like that. But we've also had a relationship for 3 years now that I can know exactly where he's at just by hearing what he's talking about. Because everyone has triggered things that they feel as though is the issue when it comes from usually something stemming from something different. That at times, he likes to talk about, oh, my stride length's too long. You know why your stride length's too long? You're not getting proper separation with your upper half. Because your upper half and your lower half have to match. That if at any point that this is getting too long, you know that these aren't moving properly. And he knows that, but he goes to it because it's an easy crutch to go on because it's a blame game. Mm-hmm. It's never just, I just stunk tonight. No one wants to admit that. It's always got to be something. But for any of those guys that are going out there and any parent that wants to see, I need to get him with the swing coach midseason, it's not going to work. If anything, we're going to go backwards.
So what I think happens is just like the player who thinks, I need to control this. There has to be a mechanical thing that I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
I think the parent oftentimes does the same thing from the standpoint of, you're working with the wrong coach. It's not working. Right. You need to go over here and work with this guy.
And for me, a session is always beneficial. They could be doing nothing different. Yeah, dude, you feel that right there? You feel that whatever motion that we're doing, they're automatically in a more positive state of mind. That when they go into the game, their swing is no different than it was yesterday. But because they believe that it's better, they automatically go out there and perform
What does that tell you about the game, by the way?
It's impossible for you to go in for anything and expect those muscle memories. If we're truly calibrated our brain to focus on one thing, it can't think about that and this. That if they are doing that, it's just simply removing their, where's my swing phase, that we're actually focused on this and not this.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is simply that we can work on little things in the cage. Like, oh yeah, I felt that cold tension in my back hip. Like it feels really good. Immediately when you go into the game, you're no longer thinking about your back hip because it felt better in your prep work. Like immediately, even no matter if it's at the minor league level, collegiate level, amateur level, you're automatically putting yourself psychologically in a better spot, which when you're not, and you start thinking about this, and that, our focus goes from not on that to all those, and your brain's too smart for that. It won't let you do it. The game's too hard.
What do you think the game of baseball needs to change at the big league level?
Attention to detail.
In what way?
Not crapping on their simply career paths because every single one of them guys on TV is supremely talented. The attention to detail in moving runners, getting guys in.
Like going back to almost like
pick-off moves, slide steps, the game within the game, the
like more
gamesmanship,
fundamental.
Holding a runner, learning how to run bases properly, that more guys get thrown out on bonehead mistakes than ever right now. That because I wasn't the fastest guy, I had to make my turns perfect. That I knew that hitting the base with my right foot as opposed to my left gave me a better turn to the next base. But so many things have gotten more lax. I think that with the catchers at the knee, you can only pick off twice before it's a balk. The bases are size of pizza boxes and not real bases. Like so many things have changed in the game that we have. Pitchers have clocks now they have to pitch off of, and like all these things that we've changed made us less polished players. That it's truly like raw ability on raw ability. Let her eat. I'm going to let it eat here. Like there's no, this guy's throwing absolute cheese. I know that I can't turn that around and go 430 pull side. I'm truly waiting for him to make a mistake breaking ball to make that happen, or I'm poking it to right field. Guy on second base, nobody out, game's on the line. I knew I had to get him over somehow. I would sacrifice my at-bat to move him so the guy on deck could drive him in. And we put guys in scoring position with nobody out in extra innings now, and they don't get in more than half the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's unacceptable for me. Like they're giving you a free run if you simply go tink and fly ball.
Yeah.
But we're trying to hit a 2-run home run when it's tied. Like, why?
I mean, it bleeds into the amateur level too, because, and fundamentals are still being taught on some level, but again, it's more whether it's the rankings. There are certainly teams
people don't even know how to bunt anymore, man.
Well, so that's what's funny. There are teams that do preach this and do work on it, but I think when you're enamored by the glitz and the glam and the flash and the rankings,
no doubt,
then it becomes really easy to say and this is where I do blame the big leagues. Whatever is happening at the amateur level, it's because of where has the big league level been. They're all looking.
It's the pinnacle, man.
That's right.
Everyone wants to be those guys, but like everything I was ever taught after I was drafted, if you didn't get that guy over, like the guy on deck was pissed.
Yeah.
Because that was a free ribby for him. I mean, that's just the way that was the passing of the baton. That if these guys are more talented than ever, we complain about how hard they throw, how much they spin it, like they're so nasty. Why not try and do less? You're trying to do more with a guy that's better. Like, doesn't make sense to me. Like, why wouldn't you shorten up and poke a ball to right field as opposed to just swinging at that high vert heater that's at the top of the zone that you can't hit?
That's where I think ego gets involved.
Yeah, well, what if I run into it? Oh, well, yeah. What if you did? Well, what if you shortened up and hit your single to right? All of a sudden, now that 220 with 18 homers and 40 RBIs can turn into 275, 280 with 8 and 65 RBIs. What guy's going to get paid more?
Yep.
Like accepting a 195 average with 20 homers, I don't want him. Like, I don't want him at all. He's never on base.
Mm-hmm.
Like when push comes to shove, that dude with 20 homers and 42 RBIs is not the guy I want, because those are all solo homers and worthless at-bats.
Yeah.
I want a guy that simply is up there and like, I am not letting you beat me. Like, I may sacrifice my at-bat, but like, I am showing you that I'm adapting the at-bat and I'm not letting you dictate the at-bat. Like, I think we've lost that, oh, well, what if I run into it? Oh, solo homer is never going to hurt you. It's those pesky at-bats that wear down Paul Skeens, that he worked a 13 pitch at-bat and that dude's sucking air. The next guy comes up and hits a 2-run homer, or you work the inning to where you fatigue and get him out of the game. Like, that doesn't exist anymore, because if a guy throws 62 pitches in 5 innings, twice through the order, bullpen.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like some of the game within the game stuff that made it the game that I love has completely dissipated. And if I felt like I was in a position where I could no longer compete with the guy on the mound, he was just too good and I'm stinking right now, I'm bunting every time to get a sack. I'm 0 for 0. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm taking that every day of the week. Like, why would I accept a punch out when I could simply get away with it's like I never had that bat.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember the last time I saw a sack fly in the big leagues.
That's good. Honestly.
Right? I don't even know as if the last time I saw a runner tag up at third and score on a sack fly. Or a guy at second base get over on a sawed off ground ball that a righty broke his bat on. So it's like,
there's very few players that still, it's interesting. Like as kids, it's like, hey, 2-strike approach, right? What's a 2-strike approach now?
And it's something too, is like, you don't understand that if you don't practice that, you're asking yourself to do something you're not calibrated to do. So understand, like, if you're doing a 2-strike approach, that's just a perspective that immediately when we put our brain in the mindset of what is a 2-strike approach, we widen out, we choke up, we're automatically putting ourselves in a psychological position to where we're not letting him beat us. We're adapting. So we're crowding the plate. We're making adjustments to show him we're not trying to hit a home run with that. We're shortening up to do less with it because we feel slightly defeated. We go in defense mode. That immediately when you choke up, crowd the plate, and you get in there, you're like, I'm not letting you beat me. It's psychological. Choking up a half inch does not make you a better hitter. If that was the case, everyone would be halfway up the bat hitting 900.
Right.
So again, I know I sound like a weirdo talking about psychological, but again, anybody that's ever played this game to any capacity of high competition, no matter if it's high level, amateur or college or pro, you dig yourself your own grave psychologically. That everyone is physically gifted. Guys in rookie ball throw 100 too. Like, they're not more gifted in the big leagues. You know what they do understand? Where to put it when it matters. And they know how to expose you with it. And it's not going to be middle 9 times out of 10. Like, everyone throws 100 right now. Guys in AAA, they're constantly 95 to 100 out of the bullpen. The reason why they're in AAA is because that slider doesn't slide more than half the time that the guys in the big leagues are executing it. People just don't understand it's not the ability that separates you. It's what you do with your ability and how well you can execute it and simply stay within the confines of who you are. People don't really know their own identity. That's the problem. That if you're trying to chase something that you're not, is that the best version of yourself? Like, yeah, 100-mile-an-hour high vert heater is really nice to have, but guess what? If I don't have that, I'm throwing a sinker.
Right.
Not a doo-doo fastball down the middle. And I think for me, giving yourself an identity of who you are takes time, due diligence, understanding that, but we're so hell-bent on trying to be somebody else that we're not taking the time to figure out who you are as a player. Altuve probably wanted it to be Mark McGwire. Unfortunately, he figured out he didn't have to be a slap hitter that hit 360 and stole bases. No, I can hit it in the Cracker Jack boxes and hit 32.
Yeah.
And he became a completely different player than when he first came up. He was just some minor leaguer that hit 400 every year that they had to give it a shot because they were so bad. And he came up and all of a sudden he's hitting 30 in the big leagues. I'm like,
it's been impressive watching him.
Yeah, when he first came up, he was a speed demon. You couldn't get him out. He just made contact everywhere and he bunted and do all this different stuff and stole 60 bags. And then all of a sudden he put on like 15, 20 pounds and he found out that he actually has massive coiled tension and he uses the ground as leverage. All of a sudden that mini body is producing some serious speed. Like, you don't have to be big to create speed. Strength and speed don't always go together.
Right.
Like, you create speed. I mean, you wrap a rubber band around your finger and let it go. That's what you're trying to do with your swing. So, but at the advanced amateur level, that's what I try and do most of is for them to have an understanding of who they are when they're at their best and tinkering around with different things to figure out if they are or aren't down that avenue. And it may be ideal to have that high speed heater, but some of us aren't genetically blessed with an absolute rocket or 6'8", 270-pound Aaron Judge. We envy that. But if we're trying to swing like him, what are we really talking about at this point? Because everyone tries to be Tiger Woods, but guess what? Tiger did things that no one else could do.
That's right. And
everyone has their own separate set of gifts, taking the time to understand what those gifts are. And they may not be as cool or as, spicy, but they're you.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I view the game now.
Buddy, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, dude.
This has been fun.
Yeah.